Welcome to Ruling on the Field.
This is the weekend everybody had circled.
NIL has changed college
Definitely
football.
worthy of winning that
The
award.
best player in the country.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the home of the world's biggest rodeo, where the stars light up the night underneath that Texas sky. Welcome to the show. Are you ready for a ride? Yeah, you better buckle up and hold on tight. Where the Bayou City streets meet the country roads. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to Ruling on the Field. Huge day tomorrow. It's the NFL draft, a day that every football and sports fan alike look forward to all year. We talk about who our teams are going to get, but before we get into that, there's a lot of, controversy going on in college football right now, and we're going to get right into it. Brady, you want to lead us into the topic of the day?
Yeah, we have our first kind of trade in college football. Crazy stuff with the Nico stuff. We talked about it last week with Rex a little bit. He has landed at UCLA. He's from Long Beach, so it kind of makes sense. This is nuts because originally his problem with Tennessee was allegedly it was the money, and he was making around 2.5 million a year. He came out later and said it was like the offense handcuffed him. I don't know how that's true. Tennessee just inaccurate at sometimes. But to then go to UCLA, it makes sense. He can't transfer in the SEC in the spring portal. To go back to LA, where I know tons of people have talked about this, where the cost of living is way higher, and it's rumored he's making around 1.5 mil, is like such a dumb decision by this guy.
Yeah, and it's a confusing one, but aside from the money, and I think this says a lot, we think about how there's some positives with NIL. We start to see more teams have talent across the board. We aren't top loaded in the SEC or the Big Ten with one or two teams every single year, but we're going to get talent across all conferences between three, four, maybe five teams in most of them. But there's a downside to this. There's go with every good thing that happens, and not just in football, but everything in life, there's always a con. There's something that brings it down. And this is an example of the bad part of college football right now. The transfer portal is turned into free agency because what's happening now is there's talk that the NCAA is going to start allowing schools directly to be paying players out of the school's pocket and not just by NIL funding for like finding donors and finding deals that they offer a package to players. Now the schools are going to be able to offer money from the school to the players. So this is a really bad thing for college football. Like I don't know what
Yeah.
else to say about it.
And I mean, essentially, a lot of schools are already doing this with like their NIL collectives, and that money is just coming from boosters and donors. So it's kind of already happening, but they'd be able to put like their own name on it instead of like the Tennessee football NIL collective. But the craziest thing you're talking about NIL with this thing is his little brother at Arkansas. Have you heard this story?
Yep, he was originally committed to UCLA
Hmm.
before he committed to Arkansas, so he flipped his commitment. And now that Nico has entered the portal, went back to UCLA, we see within I'd say it was what 8 hours. It was same day. It was probably like 6, 8 hours later.
Yeah.
We learned that his brother had entered the transfer portal and then committed pretty much immediately to UCLA.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is like, yeah, he's a freshman. He early enrolled at Arkansas, so he's been there since probably December. He got $200,000 from Arkansas's NIL collective, and now they want it back, which I think is fair game because the kid didn't play a snap of football for Arkansas.
100%.
The whole thing's nuts. And
It's
then on
it's a
Tennessee's
mess.
side, yeah, I mean, we essentially had our first trade in college football. They got Joey Aguilar, the App State transfer, who's probably going to start at UCLA. Everything out of their spring camps has been saying he was going to be the starter this year. So it's really a one-to-one trade. I'm sure Aguilar's a little cheaper than Nico was, NIL salary wise. Who do you think won this trade? I've got two thoughts. I'll let you go first.
It's a tough one. I think raw talent, we all know Nico's up there, right?
Hmm.
Your pick to blow up this year won the Heisman when he was at Tennessee, but I think we see a little bit of the money getting in the head, a little bit full of himself. We start to see that. I think there's players that are great talent wise, but they can be a toxic person in an organization or a locker room. Nico's showing a little bit of that to me. So in a way, you might be losing the talent, but you're winning the locker room.
Yeah.
You're winning the locker room back, and that's where I think Tennessee might win this trade.
Hmm.
That's just me, but I want to hear what you have on that.
Yeah, I kind of had similar thoughts. I mean, obviously Tennessee's losing a more talented quarterback, but I think they're kind of reignited around the fact like, hey, we got a guy out that didn't want to be here and was only about the money. And then on the UCLA side of it, I mean, you upgraded the quarterback position. Aguilar's good. He still threw for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns last season at App State. Um, I think both teams came out happy uh, as happy as you can be if you're Tennessee with the whole end result of the trade. The whole thing's wild to me still. And if you look at UCLA, because like Nico's money aside, he's going to a worse situation. Talent on the field, their Big Ten schedule is not super easy. I think they go 3-6 in the Big Ten. Like they've got to play Penn State, obviously USC. I think they're at Ohio State too. They have Indiana and Maryland. Like their Big Ten schedule is kind of insane this year. Um, so I don't know. I think both sides are as happy as they could be.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah. Um,
So, but I will say this. I think Aguilar is going to fit in really well with that offense. And another player I think to look out for if you're Tennessee, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about him a lot because I mean we have Underwood and Tavian St. Clair and I mean some of these guys, but there's a guy named I think it's George McIntyre
yeah,
over at
he's their
Tennessee.
number two right now.
Yeah, he's their number two right now, but don't be shocked if he can make a run in camp this year and maybe push to get some playing time. You never know.
Yeah, well, they've got the
So,
number one 2026 quarterback too, already committed. Obviously, a lot of time between now and then. Things change, money changes things, but Tennessee's probably set at quarterback. And with the draft being tomorrow night, as we record this, is Nico Bo Callahan? Tremendous talent. Nobody went to his birthday party. That type of guy.
maybe.
We'll see. Um, Moving on, let's go spring games. A lot of teams obviously had their spring game. Bunch of teams canceled them. Colorado, Syracuse wanted to do like the crossover spring games, like how NFL teams do, like the joint practices. Um, Spring games are starting to feel like they don't matter, and it kind of sucks.
It does suck, and I think that there's a value. Well, the game's changed. Let's say this. I want to start with this. I think the transfer portal's changed it a lot. The reason being, a lot of teams don't want to showcase their players before the transfer portal because they don't want coaches going in and basically picking off players that they think that they could use on their roster. So, I mean, we'll use an example with Michigan. Michigan played their spring game last week, but when's it airing? It's airing this Saturday. And the reason for that is because they want to air it after the portal window opens so that coaches don't have, is it when does it close?
It's soon, I think.
I'll
I don't
look
know
it
the
up.
exact
It
date.
was, I think it's when maybe it was when the portal closed, so that teams don't have an opportunity to pick out a player and say, I want him on my team during that period. So I think a lot of teams might be opting away from that, and I don't know. I think the other thing is the spring game gives a lot of players opportunity to think, oh, you know what? I don't think I can fit in at this place, and so people will go to the portal, and I that's one of the reasons that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, I think about players like realizing their fit within a school. If we're in April now, you got to think you kind of know where you stand in terms of like the depth chart, right? I don't think a spring game would really change anything too drastically. And then in the same token with guys poaching players after spring games, I think that was kind of the main like deciding factor on why the Colorado Syracuse game didn't happen, is because they didn't want these teams in that close of a proximity to each other this early while the spring portal's still open. Let's say Syracuse is a stud wide receiver, lights up Colorado in that spring game. He's talking to coaches in Colorado. As soon as that spring portal opens, he's jumping ship going to Colorado.
I think that the portal, I'm just going to say the portal needs to change.
Hmm.
And we are going to see it in the next 2 years, especially with all this NIL stuff. We are going to see the transfer portal change because the game's changing and that needs to change if we want to create a more team culture, camaraderie around the game. So needs to happen. It's
Yeah, and I think
a rough spot right now.
you get one transfer. Like you get your original commitment. Let's say you want to go play at Arkansas. All right, they get some stud transfers in after your freshman year. You're like, whatever. You get one transfer after that. You can't go Arkansas to Cincinnati, have a good year in the MAC, and then go out west to USC. Like when I see these transfer portal graphics and the guy has 5 schools listed, like this is nuts. Because you got to think on the academic side of that, as someone who almost transferred from my school, like transferring academic credits is kind of a pain in the ass. So
Yep.
I know these guys are there for football first, but like there's no way that that's all making this easier for them.
The other thing I think that needs to be thought about, look, I can maybe get behind 2 transfers.
Yeah.
3, you're hopping around. Like, no use for it. But if you transfer twice, whatever. But that's where I think that maybe there doesn't need to be a spring window
Hmm.
because when you make a decision, you should stay with that decision for the entire year, the entire season.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
it's
there should be one portal window. It starts the Tuesday after the national championship. That way nobody can poach teams from the playoff. Like Boise had that kid, or Penn State had their backup quarterback sit out, Bo Prabula. Wasn't even playing. He was still practicing with the team, but wasn't at their bowl game because he was in the portal. I think you get one starts the day after the national championship that Tuesday morning. It's open for 2 weeks, 2.5, 2 weeks. Like if you can't figure it out by then, you're staying at your school. And I also think with the NIL stuff, like we talked about with Nico's brother, these kids should have to sign a contract saying like I'm there for let's say 3 years because I know a lot of guys could go pro early if they had these big NIL deals. And if you leave that you should have to pay back or you shouldn't get paid out whatever that amount of the contract was.
completely agree. And the other thing to think about here, I agree that it should end or the portal should open the day after the national championship and no day later because it makes bowl games more meaningful. But here's
Hmm.
the drawback to that. For 90% of the players in the portal, they will never play pro football.
Yeah.
So you're going to school to play football, but you're a student athlete. Classes tend to start second week of January for a lot of places, a lot of schools around the country. So if that's what needs to happen, the beginning of the season needs to begin in the beginning of August.
Hmm.
And we need to bring it back. It might allow room to expand the playoffs by 1 round. And the season ends right on the New Year's because or maybe a little bit before. Because what that allows is it allows the season to conclude, get a little bit of time for the players to hit the portal and find the right fit for them
Hmm.
without guys having to jump early because they need to be able to register for classes, get into the classes, start school on time. So I do think that if anything's going to happen, I think the season might get moved back a few weeks just to allow that portal to be more um, realistic for players to enter. That's the only way I see it.
Yeah. I mean, the academic calendar being the way it is what totally screws up the portal. Like, because like you said, classes start January. It's tough for guys to transfer, get all their stuff arranged. So I think there needs to be a commissioner for college football. As much as I'm against like the kind of turning college football into a business, that's kind of what it is now. And I think we need a college football commissioner to kind of like iron out these things.
I agree. Last topic of the night, we have the NFL draft tomorrow. Just so you guys know, we are filming this on Wednesday night. So this may be airing right when the draft comes out, but we'll figure that out. Our draft guy, Rex Foster, has provided his top 10 that we are going to go with. So, same as last week, we have the Titans picking Cam Ward at one, Travis Hunter, the Browns at two, and Abdul Carter, the best edge rusher, arguably since Thibodeau, Hutchinson, those guys back in the 22 class. He will be going to the Giants. Here's where we see a little bit of the change. Ashton Genty breaks into the top five. He's number four to the Patriots. What do you think about that fit?
Uh, they're taking a home run swing. I think he's going to be awesome in the NFL. I just can't see him wearing a Patriots jersey.
It's a
Like
little
that's a
weird.
guy. Yeah, it's a weird like visual for me. Other than that, I like the pick.
As expected, the Jags need to get a good interior lineman. They're going to go with Mason Graham. That's going to stay the same as last week. You want to take the back six or back five.
Yeah, the Raiders get Membo. Jets get Tyler Warren. I kind of love that for them. Give Justin Fields a guy to throw the ball to. Dolphins make a trade with the Panthers to grab Will Campbell, who I thought would go way higher. I think we had did he have the
Will
Patriots
Campbell
take
at
him at
one
four?
point was the four
Yeah.
pick to the Patriots.
Saints get Jalen Walker out of Georgia, and the Bears get Walter Nolan. Only thing that I'm surprised here, and I know Rex knows this stuff. I read through the rest of his mock draft earlier. Um, I'm surprised we don't have the Bears trading up to try to grab Genty. And the last I heard this morning was there's a chance the Giants either try to take a quarterback at three or trade out of that to take a quarterback somewhere else in the first round.
That's another argument right now. Shador's staying at 21 for
Hmm.
Rex. He's going to the Steelers, right? They've been pretty vocal about their quarterback decision. They have a few options that they're with, but if the opportunity comes along, I would not be surprised if they jumped on Shador Sanders.
Yeah. So, like we said, we're recording this the night before, less than 12 or less than 24 hours till the draft.
Absolutely. One more guy to bring up because I saw his mock draft today. Will Johnson continues to fall back in the draft. Right now, Rex has him in his mock draft at pick 18 going to the Seattle Seahawks playing for the one and only Mike McDonald. Um, that that's just the recreation of the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, I love him falling there. I obviously coached him at Michigan for a season or two. Um, I think it's crazy that he's falling that low, but obviously Rex knows something that we don't because Daniel Jeremiah didn't even have him in the first round on his latest mock draft, which is nuts to me. So I don't know if there's something that changed in the last 48 hours on Will Johnson's draft stock, or if a Twitter post of his or something got leaked. I don't know what the hell happened, um, but him falling that far is nuts to me.
I don't know if McDonald ever got the chance to coach. Did he head out in 21 or 22?
He would have been there his freshman year, I think.
So his freshman year was 22, so he was there. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe he was there that year.
yeah, he was there for
Uh,
1 year.
but I mean, if so, they could be reunited tomorrow night. But we're looking forward to a good draft tomorrow. Might have some content come out. We'll be talking about that more, especially after the draft. We'll recap what these players are going to fit and how they're going to fit with these new organizations. So, Brady, it was good getting on here with you tonight, and we're excited to get back after it in early next week.
Let's do it. Go blue.
Go Blue.